on digital radio, on the app, on your smartphone, on X, YouTube, and Facebook. The Sportscast. Basketball in March.
The Donut Bag presented by The Sportscast.
The Donut Bag, hosted by Joey Toscano. And here's your host, Joey Toscano.
We're actually not on Twitter.
Well, considering all the problems Twitter's had today, I'm not surprised.
Yeah, really. Let me try this again. Let's come out and come back in. Let's see here. Hold on. I'll bring you back in.
Yeah.
Me, okay. Are we? I think we're still live.
I think we are.
We're off to a great start, but I think we're actually on Twitter now. Maybe. Let me check. No. Oh well. Oh no, wait. Nope. Okay. Yeah. Twitter's broke. Forget it.
Yeah.
Or
it's been broke all day.
YouTube. So, okay. Well, yeah. Let's just get started. Okay. Welcome to the Donut Bag podcast, part of the Sportscast Network. Welcome to everybody joining us live. If you want to join in on the conversation, join us on the YouTube channel. And while you're there, please like and subscribe. That's the YouTube channel is, if you search Joey Bag of Donuts VN7F, you can find that. And what a day. Let's start with the unfortunately saddest news. Let's talk about Craig Wolfley. We just found out today that Craig Wolfley passed away. He was only 66, gone way, way too soon. For those not familiar, he played with the Steelers for, I believe, 10 years in the 70s and 80s under Chuck Noll. And then he went into the broadcast booth. He was he did broadcasting, and his brother, I believe his name is Ron, did commenting for the Arizona Cardinals, and they sounded exactly alike. They you would have thought they were twins or something like that.
And his other brother did commentary for WVU.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Oh wow!
Yeah. So it was like it was a family thing. Yeah, he played for the Steelers, I believe, from 80 or 81 to 91. Then finished out his career in the Vikings. But he was also, I don't know if a lot of people realize, but he finished 5th in the world's strongest man competition. So he was, one of those guys who was in that too. But the thing about him was his kindness, and I was sharing a story with you, back at training camp this past year, and we went to dinner, and it was with me, him, and another person, and the waitress says, "Okay, I'll take you to your seats," and she has the menus. We didn't get to our seats for like 25 minutes, because eventually I kind of got there. But Craig, everyone knows Wolf. Hey, yeah. Wolf, how's the team look? Hey, Wolf, what do you think about this? Hey, Wolf, and he would oblige. If you wanted anything signed, if you want to talk, if you wanted a selfie, where some of these guys, and rightfully so, they're kind of protective about their, privacy and whatnot. And sometimes to have the back end of the restaurant or a private room reserved, or that wasn't Wolf. And, two things with that, Joe. I remember saying to him, "How do you ever eat?" And he said, "Oh, I eat." And he said, "I'm the king of doggy bags." And found that funny. But we never really strayed into politics or religion on this show, which I don't think anybody would tune in and expect it. But the one thing I'll say, whether you're faithful or not, his faith was undaunted. He lost his brother. He lost Tunch. There's a lot of reasons for him to give up on his faith, and he never did. He was very faithful to the end. He was in a men's prayer group. Now, I did a men's prayer group with Tunch a few times, but then I guess he was in there a few times. My friend David would go to that prayers group with them. And as you said, he went to your church, but he never, ever lost sight of that. And I think that helped him with how gregarious he was and how open-minded he was and how willing to talk to whether it was my son Liam at a Chuck Noll event or to my family or to whatever. It's just the way he was. It was hard to see that he died today. It was emotional to get that.
So sad. Yeah. 66 is just way too young to go.
Mm-hmm.
I think it caught everybody by mistake. I mean, he was just working, the Steelers games a couple months ago. And it sounds like he had a cancer diagnosis, I think just a couple weeks ago or something like that. And sometimes it happens. Sometimes it's just, F cancer, as they say. Sometimes it just takes a hold of you so quickly, and it's you don't have a chance. So just so sad.
You think about that too, Joe, and I mean he's been part of a pantheon of great. We had him and Cope and Tunch. He came on board when Tunch left the sidelines and went up into the booth, right? And then Craig's on the sidelines, and I mean the two of them together. I can't tell you how many charity events we did with them, with him and Tunch together, and I mean it was like. Whatever you want to say, Ponch and John, or whatever, Batman and Robin, whatever kind of duo you can think of. Almost knew what the other one was thinking. They picked up on it, and they'd have funny things. And I remember it was so funny, and the players loved him too. And who is it's like say Steele earlier this year who had like the 4 holding calls on the one drive. And he talked about that in his 5th quarter show. He said, "You know what? I did that too." I think it was the 49ers. I think Chuck Noll wanted to kill him, and so he kind of empathized with him. Here we are, like, wanting to throw our, icy lights at the guy. And, there he is, relating to him and saying, I've been there. I held like 3 times on one play. It cost us like 60 yards in the drive or whatever it was.
Well, that's why when like he would champion people that were kind of the underdog, because that was him. I just saw a clip today of he was a guard and for some reason because of injury he had to play tackle one year, and he was not the tallest guy, and he's like, I'm going against guys that are like a foot taller than me, and I mean they could just like put things on top of my head if they want to. I mean, they're laughing at me, and he held his own. And I think like like people like Dan Moore who just got a big deal today. But everybody was down on, and like he would support people like that because he knew what it was like.
Yeah, but even up until, unfortunately, even his older years, like I remember doing a couple of pictures I have with my brother-in-law and I and him, and he's got you put your arm around him, and I mean, he's just is built like you couldn't believe, like a brick, what house that they always say. I mean, he was always strong. His hand was huge, big, strong hands, but the most gentle guy. And I had to step away a little bit this morning because I got the news, and it was just like, I texted you. I said, Joe, did you hear? And you had, and then, I mean, just. Yeah, Tunch had been ill for a while. He knew it was coming.
Yeah.
And I think Wolf struggled seeing him go through that, but was there for him. And then for Wolf to turn around and however long ago it was to be gone in a matter of weeks is just shocking to all of us.
And he was one of those guys, one of those old school throwbacks that had a personality. For some reason, the announcers and the commentators now are not allowed to have personalities. They're supposed to be very bland. And he would just, he would just come up with the craziest sayings and the way you said it, brother. And it was just so, it was just so entertaining. Yeah. The imagination. It was just so entertaining. And it's just sad that like we won't have those kind of people anymore. For some reason they have to be very bland and not stand out.
Well, there'd be times where because life is life and you can't always be in front of a TV to watch a Steeler game. And I've been many times in the car with my wife and son, and they're listening to the game, and they're probably not as in tune to a Steeler game as I am, but he would say something and my wife would giggle, or my son like, what did he say? It's like it's the thing like Mike Lang. and when you talk about Mike Lang and losing him and Wolf so close together, I mean, Mike Lang, and I remember this, and I know you do, back in the days when the Steelers stunk, or the Penguins stunk, you'd tune into Penguins games to hear him call a hockey game. And Wolf's the same way. He could get anybody that's, whether they're a diehard Steeler Yinzer or just a casual Steeler Yinzer, to pay attention, to laugh, to follow along, to want to listen to more, because of how he did things.
Yeah. 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 Trying to hold together here. Mark Condolences to his family, and rest in peace. It was
absolutely.
It hit hard, because I don't think a lot of us knew, like I said, it seemed pretty sudden. I know on DVE this morning, like, just, their entire broadcast just came to a halt, and they switched from nonstop Steeler talk to just talking about Craig Wolfley, and that's no, you never heard a bad thing about him. He was just such a great guy. So he will be
praised to his family for sure.
Yeah. I want to also just real quick shout out to Chris Carter, who is a journalist covering the Steelers, and he just got named to the Post-Gazette covering this. He was with the Post-Gazette covering Pitt basketball and football, and now he's going to be covering the Steelers, and it's kind of his it's kind of a dream come true for him. And he just started he started with nothing. He was just a dude on the internet analyzing film, and he keeps going up and up, and he just the cream rises to the top, as they say, and he's just so good at what he does. Such a good guy. When he was starting out, and I was starting out this podcast, I just messaged him and said, "Hey, would you like to be on my podcast?" He's like, "Sure, let's. Where do you want to meet?" I'm like, "Well, what do you mean meet? I do this remotely. We're doing this over whatever." He's like, "Let's go somewhere." So we would just, like, once a month we would just go to Panera or something and just hang out and do a podcast episode. And I'm just so happy for him, because he works so hard, and it's a testament to, if you work hard, you're going to get places, and he didn't do it like some people do, being outrageous or saying crazy things. He's just hard work, and he's really good with analysis, and it took him places. I'm just so happy for him.
Chris, the other thing with Chris too is he would take the shifts that nobody else wanted to take on radio on the weekends.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a brief stint in my life where, we were just, as all of us have probably been, just trying to put some coins and stuff together. And I was doing some work for a shuttle service on weekends at the Pittsburgh airport. And he'd come on at some ungodly hour at Saturday morning. And so I called in once, and I was doing the Twitter too. It was kind of starting Twitter. And it was right around the start of baseball season. And he was saying, "Give me topics." And I said, what you should do is you should ask everybody who was on their baseball glove when they were in Little League. And it went viral. I mean, it was a huge hit. I mean, he had people calling all day. Stan Savran called in. Stan Savran gave him his, and like Bob Pompiani. And I mean, we just had a great time with it. It was on Twitter. I don't know how many likes it got, but it was like thinking who is on here. And he just went, but that's the thing with Chris, like you said, he went from doing like the graveyard shift radio shows to more, getting more and more recognition and more good time slots. And to see what he's doing now, I love it for him. Couldn't happen to a nicer guy.
Yeah. And Locked On Steelers podcast, he does that every day. Vital. It's essential watching for any Steelers fan to find out what's going on. So happy. Congrats to him. I think Rod Carew was on my first baseball glove.
Ooh, that's a good one. Mine was Eddie Murray.
Ooh.
So yeah. Rod Carew, Eddie Murray, and yep.
That is a great topic.
Yeah, I think Ron and Stan had like something great, like Johnny Bench or something.
Oh my God.
Maybe even further, back. But it was cool to see some people chime in with some older gloves from like the 60s or 70s that they had. So it was neat.
Yeah. Let's talk about something that seemed to happen like a week ago, but it was actually less than 24 hours ago. The Steelers trade for DK Metcalf. They trade a second and I believe they swapped 6th and 7th rounders or something like that, and they
Mhm.
signed him to about a 105-year contract for about 150 million, about 30 million a year. Huge deal. I'm 90% happy about this. I'm a little scared. I don't, he seems to be a pretty volatile guy, but I mean, he's a bona fide. He's safe to say he's a top 20 receiver in the league. So,
He
they
is.
they addressed it.
The memes on Twitter and Facebook today with Tomlin, like, drinking or whatever to get through, like when those two go off at the same time, him
Oh
and
my
Pickens,
God.
and like start crawling the stands and beat the crap out of fans or something. It's like,
Right.
they are. I mean, I don't know what's gonna happen with Pickens. I mean, I feel like there's I think it's 50-50. I think they keep him, and okay, now we have a receiving core instead of a number one receiving it, and a bunch of number 4 guys. Now you have 2 legitimate number 1s, or at least a 1 and a 2, whichever way you want to look at it. Yeah, I mean, hopefully level heads prevail. I don't know, but the other thing is, I think the common question is, who the hell is going to throw to him? But going back to keep or trade George Pickens, I think they could easily get that 2nd round pick they traded away to get it back. I think Pickens would at least command a 2nd round pick. So I think it's going to be very interesting as this week goes on, is to see where he's going to be.
Big question. I don't know. They could decide to keep him. Obviously, they're not going to sign him to a long-term deal, but they could keep him for this year and then whatever, or they could trade him. I don't know. The other question is, how is he going to handle? I mean, we've always said, how is he going to handle this last year?
Yeah.
I mean, he's been a space cadet, his previous 3 years. How's he going to handle this year? But then now you have somebody on the team that they just gave a huge contract to. So how mad is he going to be about that?
Right. And the only thing I always say about him is, like, he's all mad about this and mad about that. Well, he doesn't exactly have the numbers to back it up.
Right.
And now he can make him, and he's not had a lot thrown to him. I mean, he's been, through how many quarterbacks, but that's the thing where he probably feels that frustration. And, if it comes to the point where they don't trade him, I think he has no choice but to shut up and perform well this year, have a big year, and then he'll be gone. But can that part of his brain where it's like, okay, time to shut up and grow up and mature and just do what I need to do? Or is it going to be just taken over by the volatile, immature kid we've seen for 3 years now? The same one that we got from Georgia, by the way. He hasn't matured since he was at Georgia, where it was an issue. Bringing him to Pittsburgh, he thought he didn't mature at all as a pro. And, here we are.
At some point, the message has to get to him, buddy. It's all about the money. If you could just behave and act like a professional, mature adult, you can make a lot of money. You can make DK Metcalf money. You can make 30 million a year. But if you continue this ridiculous, childish attitude and the ridiculous things he does, who's going to want him? Maybe somebody will, but they're not going to pay top dollar for him. They're going to pay maybe half that. You're throwing away millions of dollars with your attitude, dude.
Yeah, he could have commanded DK Metcalf money had he performed over the last couple of years, and he just hasn't done that. And again, excuses are excuses. All the NFL guys want to see is numbers. They want to see, hey, I mean, that would have been the thing. Okay, despite having a revolving rotation of quarterbacks, I still managed to go 9 or 10 touchdowns a year and over 1,000 yards. That would really be something. I could even have bumped him into maybe the most coveted wide receiver right now. But he has none of that, and he chose to feed into the anger, to the depression, the cynicism, whatever you want to say. And here he's sitting with average at best numbers and a bad attitude problem that's followed him since college. So he's not very marketable right now. I'm sure he thinks he is, but he's not.
I can't believe there are people out there that defend him. They say it's not him. He's not the problem. It's the media. It's the media's fault. that people don't like him. Like, come on, people. Come on. It's just laughable. But we'll see. We'll see. Maybe, DK Metcalf in many ways is kind of like George Pickens. We see DK Metcalf not just like push defensive backs, they get into full wrestling matches. I mean, this is like a normal thing.
The difference is he is built.
Oh my goodness.
He's big. He's 6'4". He will throw you around. I mean, there's oh, go ahead.
He was just built like a Greek god. He just muscles on top of muscles.
Yeah. He could be in the WWE next week. But yeah, no, he's definitely a guy. They got the receiver that we all had hoped that they would get. So they've addressed the receiving issue, which we said is a glaring issue. There's still a multitude of others that they made some attempt to get to today, but yeah, I think right now the more interesting thing is what are we going to do at quarterback and what's going to go on with Pickens in the next 3 to 7 days.
Yeah. Or in the next month or so, with
the draft,
until the draft. Yeah. So we'll see. I mean, but if they do that, if they do decide to trade him, you're almost at the same exact situation you were a year ago. It's like you have one good receiver and then a bunch of crap. So, I saw, hey, I don't know. We'll see. I mean, it's very early. Maybe Cooper Kupp. I just saw Darius Slayton got re-signed by the Giants.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see.
I'm not sure how excited Darius Slayton is, but
yeah, well, that's the thing. It's what else is out there. Nation Thompson says, keep GP, let go of Russ. F. Rogers too old. Steelers need to draft quarterback Donovan Smith, is 6'5", 215-pound quarterback from Houston. He's a beast in the next big back. I don't know anything about. I've never heard of this guy.
Yeah, I know of him. I mean, well, first of all, the problem here, Nashawn, sorry if I mispronounced your name wrong. Keep George Pickens, okay, but if you let go of Russ and F. Rogers, who's our quarterback?
Right.
And if you think Donovan Smith's going to step in here right away and be delivering, you're sadly mistaken, in my opinion. Yes, I watched him play 1 or 2 games this year. I'm by no means a Houston Cougars expert, but I'm aware of the kid. I don't think he's I think he's probably second tier. To Nashawn's point, though, I think we could probably get him in a later round and not have to give up a first-round pick, and he may turn out to be, a special kid. But, a lot to see there. I really don't respect the conference that Houston plays in. It's a pretty easy conference. But, no, I'd much more – and Joe knows this. I've been saying this since, this past fall. I'm a Jackson Dart fan, and his stock has been rising, and if you can Jackson Dart in the second round, I'd much rather have Jackson Dart than Donovan Smith.
But either way, you have, we'll talk about the quarterbacks in a second, but starting a rookie, no matter who it is, that's just not going to happen.
Well, it's probably not going to happen. It's probably not going to happen. But here's the thing where, Nashawn brings up a good point is that, and this is where I'm kind of sitting, is whether they bring in Aaron Rodgers, which I'm not a big fan of, or now we're stuck with Russ. Our youngest quarterback would be 37 years old. And I don't care what you say. I mean, I feel like the NFL younger is better. Yeah, you can add a veteran here or there, but when the leader of your team is either 37 or 41 years of age, I worry about that, and so it's what you have to ask yourself is, are the Steelers rebuilding, or are they trying to win now? And that's where I think there's a little bit of confusion on our identity, because I think I'm in the point where rebuild. So to his point, bring in Donovan Smith in the second or third round, and hopefully he has a shot. But I don't think you can just get rid of Rodgers and get rid of Russ and just we're going to start with Donovan Smith right out the gate. If you're totally rebuilding, then you can, but I don't think the Steelers are doing that right now.
And they're not going to. They're not. Right. They're not going to be. In fact, it seems like with the moves they're making, getting older people, it seems like they're in win now mode, which is laughable. But But yeah, let's talk about what happened with the quarterbacks. So before today, or we up leading up to today, we heard, well, it's between Justin Fields and Russell Wilson. It's going to be one of those two. And okay, let's see what happens. And it seemed like they were leaning toward Justin Fields. But as time went on and as we got closer and closer to today, we still didn't get a deal done. And the Steelers wanted to get one. And they didn't. Go ahead.
The Jets are saying now, like, technically they don't have to release him until Wednesday. So that's what the Jets are saying now, and the Steelers wouldn't be able to make an offer to him until Wednesday. So that just came out.
Russell Wilson? Aaron Rodgers.
Aaron Rodgers. So I don't know why the Jets are doing that. Like, I don't see the big need for that, but, you can do that until Wednesday. So it looks like the Jets are playing games a little bit. I think a couple reports were out there. In fact, it seemed like Big Ben let it slip this afternoon on the Pat McAfee show. I was watching that a little bit while I had some lunchtime, and he said that, well, he understood it that Aaron Rodgers has an offer on the table and Steelers are waiting to hear back. Well, that tends to be probably not true. I'm not saying Ben was lying or maybe he misheard, but until the Jets officially release him, they can't make an offer to him. So, you're right. I mean, we're still here. We're not sure what's going to happen. And yeah.
But it's just this whole dynamic with Justin Fields is fascinating. What happened last year, that they bring in Russell Wilson and then Kenny Pickett says, screw you, trade me. And so they trade him and they end up with Justin Fields. It's like, oh my God, we got Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. This is crazy. But it was Russell all along. Everything was all about Russell Wilson, pole position, blah, blah, blah. Even when Russell Wilson got hurt, it was still all about Russell Wilson. Even when Justin Fields went 4-2, it was still all about Russell Wilson. And I think that bothered him. And it sounds like even now, the Steelers were not totally committed to him. It's just I think Justin Fields just got sick of it. We have one more thing from Tom Pelissari. He said the Steelers have had an offer to Justin Fields for multiple days now, but has not given the Steelers an answer, according to Tom Pelissero. So he was their guy, but Justin Fields said, you know what? I'm going to see what I could get out there, which is perfectly understandable. And he got something better.
Well, I'm glad you really brought up that scenario. You did a really good job with it, explaining it too, because the thing that you look at, Joe, is this kid all along is kind of wanted to be a starter. He kind of played himself out of Chicago with all of the multitude of turnovers, comes to Pittsburgh, maybe has a fresh chance. Looks like it's good. We're not sure we're going to bring in Russell Wilson. So then who's our starter? It's Justin Fields, largely due to Russell Wilson pushing a blocking set, which was stupid. But needless to say, then he gets off to a pretty hot start. Does pretty well. He's young, makes some mistakes. Again, 6 fumbles that we recovered 5 of. So he's still being a turnover machine. Just it wasn't really that much evident because we kept recovering all his fumbles. And then you come to this, and I think, again, you can't blame the kid. He's young. He's very athletic. He can run. There's a lot of things he can do. He feels he's number one starter material. And I really think what if Joe and Tom Pelissero can say whatever he wants about numbers, I think he's sitting there saying, okay, I want this number and I want to be the starter in Pittsburgh. If I'm not and number one starter in Pittsburgh, I'm gone. And he has every right to do that. And you can blame the Steelers or not on the Steelers, but I don't think, they're talking about Aaron Rodgers. They were talking about Sam Darnold, which is that's how that ship has sailed. Like Nashawn said, maybe they bring in a quarterback, which I think is highly possible. And, and what if he outperforms Justin Fields, so what if a Donovan Smith or what if a Jackson Dart comes in here and
exactly
the last thing that Justin Fields wants to do is find himself in that category again, or in that, quarterback carousel. He wants out. He's going to go to the Jets. Now, mind you, and we've always said this, you go to the Jets. Let me tell you something from working in it for a few years. The New York media is brutal.
Yes.
Nobody comes close. Pittsburgh, Los Angeles, Chicago, Miami, whatever. You play for the New York Jets and New York Giants, you're going to get absolutely hammered if you don't do well.
They're going to eat you alive.
Yep.
I understand. Hey, money talks. And I don't know if the money between what the Jets offered and what the Steelers offered was close. I have a feeling it wasn't. I'll bet the Steelers said, how about we give you, I don't know, let's say, $10 million a year or something like that. And the Jets, doubled that or whatever. But still, playing in Pittsburgh and playing in New York are completely different things. And if you don't do well, they will eat you alive. So good luck with that, Justin Fields. I laughed at myself because a day or two ago I said, if the Steelers keep Justin Fields, I'm going to be like, yes, yeah, he's young. Yay, let's go. But if we don't keep him, I'm going to be like, yeah, he's a bum. He was always a bum. I hate him. So that's my attitude. I was like, he sucks. Screw him. It's a good thing we don't have him.
I mean, if it all works, you're going to the team with the longest playoff drought of any team in the NFL, the Jets. And if he works out, he does it great. Because again, more to our guy Nashawn there also had a good point here. I'm with the youth thing. You bring in Rodgers. You and I say there's red flags everywhere with that. Also with the fact the flag of he's 41. And so everyone's saying, well, look what he did last year. He had 28 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. Well, guess what? Russell Wilson had 24 touchdowns and 3 interceptions his last year in Denver, which looked pretty good. Until he got here. And again, I mean, we're just growing older, but not up. It's a Jimmy Buffett song there, but we're growing older, but not up. And, we need to kind of grow up and grow younger at the same time. So I would have been fine. I know this is probably the unpopular opinion. If they would have kept Justin Fields and gave it a shot, I probably would have been okay. Like, all right, let's give the kid a shot. Turnovers aside, let's see what he can do. But now I'm just not as excited about, these guys. It's not.
Well, now that Justin Fields is out of the picture and Sam Darnold is out of the picture, basically your two choices are Russell Wilson or Aaron Rodgers. And we're getting reports that it sounds like it might be Aaron Rodgers. And honestly, that disgusts me. I think that's a terrible decision. And I'm pretty upset about it, but people seem to like it, and okay, fine. I can't get over. There's just so many red flags. First of all, how many 41-year-olds have there been playing NFL football? You had Tom Brady a few years ago. I remember Warren Moon did it. Brett Favre did it, and these are your skills are so diminished. And look at Aaron Rodgers last year. Like, yeah, he had some good games statistically in garbage time or something like that. So what? Wait, how do you look at when the Jets came here? The Jets came in Pittsburgh. How do you look at what Aaron Rodgers did in that game and say, oh yeah, we need to get that guy? You've got to be kidding me.
When you look at that thing, and nobody ever seems to mention this, is when Tom Brady went to the Bucs, that was a pretty good team that he went to.
Yeah.
Good receiving, really good line, decent running backs, a very good defense. Same with when Peyton Manning ended up in Denver. He was going to an elite defense. Pretty good set of receivers and running backs, a fantastic offensive line. That's where I think a 41-year-old quarterback kind of can thrive. Like, take a guy like him and put it in a team that's very established. All we need you to do is not make mistakes. We have the talent for you to throw to. Okay, we got DK Metcalf. I understand that. But I don't know if we're established enough for a 41 or 38-year-old quarterback and sit there and thrive. I just don't. That's why I think with Fields, at least they grow together.
And at least Fields can outrun some of that and deal with that poor offensive line like he did last year.
Yeah. But, and that's the thing. Like, what are you willing to do? Because, like, you take a guy like a Donovan Smith. One of the knocks on Donovan Smith is he doesn't get past his first progression really well. He stares down receivers a lot. That's why a lot of balls got knocked down. His deep ball was a little inconsistent. Now, that's stuff with a good quarterback coach you can remedy. I get that. But what are you willing to do? Are you willing to take the Donovan Smiths of the world or the Justin Fields of the world and mold them and work with them with a guy like DK Metcalf and George Pickens? Or is a guy like DK Metcalf and George Pickens going to go rip his head off because he's a rookie quarterback? Because that's the other angle of it too. right? To Nishan's point, the other angle is DK Metcalf and George Pickens are not going to do well by week 5 if the balls are sailing behind them and over their heads, and like they got to bring in a rookie quarterback. So the Steelers have put themselves in a very awkward position with all this quarterback carousel.
This is just all a result of everything that's happened for like the past 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Warren Sharp, who's a brilliant football analyst, he had an article today that said basically the Steelers screwed up by not having a proper Ben Roethlisberger succession plan. They got their only succession plan while he was playing was Mason Rudolph, and we saw how that turned out.
Right.
Then it was Kenny Pickett, and we saw how that turned out. And now look where we are. We are in quarterback hell. We are trying to get scraps and 37-year-olds and 41-year-olds, and maybe they'll release Kirk Cousins, or maybe, hey, let's go get Danny Dimes. I mean, we are in quarterback hell right now, and it has the potential to destroy the entire season. What destroyed the entire season last year was them not getting a wide receiver. Well, what might destroy this year is them not getting a quarterback.
We've said this, and I'm not trying to pat ourselves on the back. We've been saying this for a few years now. Even when Ben was ending his career, we're going to be in Terry Bradshaw part 2 if you don't fix this. And here we are going right through the plethora of quarterbacks that came and went after between Terry and Ben, and that's what you can't do. Like, not that you could do it in the 80s and 90s. You kind of could get away with a decent running game and an average quarterback. In this day and age, with how prevalent passing is, you can't F up the quarterback position. And and I saw somebody else put this on today, like they're like the Pirates right now of management quarterbacks. I mean, it's badly mismanaged, and who knows? But I can tell you this, whether we get Aaron Rodgers this week or whatever, if Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson's our starting quarterback going in week 1, I'm not that thrilled about that.
It's either way. Either way, even if we had Justin Fields, that's not an ideal scenario either. We're just in quarterback purgatory, and we're hoping it gets better in 2026. And we're hoping it's like, well, the draft is here, so maybe we'll draft someone. Well,
yeah, if you're non-Catholic, if you want to know what purgatory is, this is it. We're not exactly quarterback hell. We're not in quarterback heaven. So we're kind of quarterback purgatory now. And what did Paulie want to say to Sopranos? You add up all your mortal sins, you divide that by 6, and that's how many years you spend in purgatory, whatever he said. That was a great episode. But that's what it is, I mean, I guess right now we're in there 5 years, multiply that by 5. I don't know. But we're there, and that's where I am a little bit more intrigued by who could we draft. It's a mediocre to above average quarterback draft. It's not great. It's not awful. But I think you could easily swing and miss in this quarterback draft. Easily. You got to do this right. There are a couple guys that could work out. But, again.
Okay. You said something perfect. It's easy to swing and miss. So you know what you do? You keep swinging. You keep drafting. I say draft a quarterback every damn year. And I'm not talking about in the first round or something like that, but I'm talking about in the 3rd round or the 4th round or something like that. You never know. Look what the 49ers did with the 49ers are the exact example of how crazy it is to pick a quarterback. They traded 3 first-round picks for Trey Lance. And then they just happen to pick a guy in the 7th round, and he happens to be really good. We just don't know, but just keep swinging, and you might hit something.
Yeah, no, it is. And I mean, like I said, there's a lot of guys out there that you might just strike gold, like the Patriots did. I hate to say it, like the Patriots did with Tom Brady, right? I mean, you could strike gold. Will any of these guys be another Tom Brady? Hell no. But if they're mildly in, decent enough to get you there, then you might, So yeah, I mean, I guess that would be me thinking. I'd be moving on, Joe. If we get Aaron Rodgers, great. Now I'm kind of interested to see who we can get to draft, and what that guy could be capable of.
Either way, either way, I mean, the question is who's going to be your starting quarterback, but the other question is who's going to be your number 2. Is it going to be someone they draft? Is it going to be Danny Dimes? Is it going to be who knows? Who knows? You know, who it could be. Most likely it's going to be someone they draft. So and if you have a old man, a crippled old man, either way, either one of them as your starting quarterback, there's a pretty good chance you're going to get to that number 2 quarterback. So whoever they get as number 2 is almost as important as they get who they get as number 1.
Well, and I think that's where you and I kind of definitely fall in that place. And I think some of our listeners are probably our age, but we have a decent amount that are younger. I can't tell you guys, that's how it felt when we drafted Ben. Joe knows I covered college football back then. I got to see Ben play at Miami of Ohio, and I knew he was special. I saw him many times. I remember saying to my dad, which I didn't really often do, we need to get that guy. And when they got him, I don't want to, if you want to call it unprofessional, I'm like jumping up and down. I'm like, this is the next guy. And, as the story goes, he did a very good training camp. Everything that was pedigree about him was being shown on the field, training camp, locker room wise. The guys started liking him real well, right away. And when Tommy Maddox got hurt, and Ben comes in and they go 15-1. And, the rest is history. Maybe he stayed around too long. You could argue that, and I'd accept that. But, that's the kind of guy that, you're kind of hoping that they get, that you just can't ignore the amount of talent that's sitting on that bench. And, when he comes in, not that Ben have a great first year. No, I think he drew 13 or 16 interceptions. And, they had a defense that could make up for that. But that's the kind of feeling you want to get when you're drafting a quarterback. And I don't know if any of these guys strike me like that coming into this draft, but we'll have to see.
Yeah. The other thing about Aaron Rodgers is not only do we not know how he's going to be on the field, there's so much baggage with him. First of all, last year with the Jets, he decided not even to show up to minicamp.
Right. Didn't show.
And, it's like he half-assed that. Then there's a whole thing with the McAfee show where basically every time, every week he's on there saying God knows what. Mm-hmm. And you think, I mean, the feeling is, oh yeah, but that was the Jets and they're screwed up. Don't worry. If he came to the Steelers, Mike Tomlin would keep him in line. Are you kidding me? Nobody's going to keep that guy in line. You really want to bring that into the organization? He is the definition of a locker room cancer.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers is going to do what's best for Aaron Rodgers.
Exactly.
He does not care about Mike Tomlin because damn well Mike Tomlin or Bill Cowher or Chuck Noll, you can go through all three. None of them would have liked him appearing on the Pat McAfee show.
Right.
At all. None of them would have liked that at all. You're going to hear my dogs there for a minute. I got my own version.
I agree with your dog.
Yeah, the dog's right. Yeah. But no, I mean, that's the thing I think. I mean, you want to bring in a cancer. That's it. I guess at least with Russ, you have him there and he has some history with DK and, maybe there and I don't know. But I guess that's where I'd be a little more comfortable at this point is if we're going to keep one of them, keep Russ, draft somebody and hope the draft works out.
Hey, Russ, he is annoying too, but he's an annoying in another way. Like Aaron Rodgers will take every opportunity to throw his players, the coaches, the organization, everybody under the bus. Russ is the exact opposite. No matter what is happening, if a meteor hits Pittsburgh, he'll be all positive about it. Like, that was a really good meteor. We're going to try hard to save the city or whatever. He's all positive. He's that toxic positivity that's fake and annoying, but he is always positive. But the thing about Russ is we know, I mean, the offense for a while actually clicked under him. They were at one point they were scoring almost 30 points a week. And what is he really good at? The deep ball. And who do we have right now? We have 2 wide receivers that are really good at catching the deep ball. So maybe that might work.
That's where I'd feel better too. Again, like I said, that crap with Aaron Rodgers, it didn't go well in New York. It sure as hell is going to go well here. And if they do bring in Aaron Rodgers, we might as well do, Joe, when we do our preseason or draft pick, we might as well have a special episode to pick which Steelers coach is going to lose their job because Aaron Rodgers is going to throw them under the bus.
Right.
And by week 9, they're going to be
Yeah.
out of a job. That's the kind of doom and gloom Aaron Rodgers brings with you. And
oh my goodness. Yeah, we're just in bigger purgatory. I put out a poll, like, who would you rather have? And Aaron Rodgers leads with 35%, Russell Wilson 22%. Literally anyone else is at 30%, and a meteor hitting Pittsburgh is at 13%. So
oh, it's up to 13.
it's up to 13. Yeah, so
up to 11
let's go
last
meteor. Yeah. In other free agency news, apparently they're getting Darius Slay. Maybe not.
They did. I think they got him. Darius Slade has had a great year with Philly. He was part of that defensive backfield comeback. But again, they're getting older. He's 34.
He's 34.
Right? Dante Jackson's gone. Dante Jackson's now a Charger. And you can say what you want about Dante Jackson's game, but he did pretty well in the nickel package. He did pretty well covering, wide receivers. He made some picks. I thought he did great for what we got him for. I would like to have seen him hang on to him at 29 and build on defensive backfield, whether he's a depth guy or whatever. So you bring in a guy, and here's what I worry about. And I'm not a pessimist, but he's 34. He's coming off of a Super Bowl win. I worry about that Super Bowl hangover. You know what I mean? I mean, how committed and geared up is he to play for the Steelers and do well? Maybe he is. I don't know. But a cornerback at 34, and he's not going to be a depth ad. He's going to expect to start. But what balanced out that well is he was an older cornerback, and they had some younger safeties, and of course Cooper DeJean, a guy I wanted really bad that we didn't pick, and had a hell of a great year this year. I don't know. Not overly excited. It's a decent ad, I guess. Can't be too picky, but at 34 as a cornerback in the NFL, not jumping up and down.
There were other cornerbacks available. I don't understand why they chose him. I don't know. That's an odd one. I heard that it's basically an endorsement of Corey Trice, and hey, cool. I mean, I would love to see Corey Trice do well, but I would also like to see Corey Trice, period, because the dude can't stay healthy.
Right. And I told you, when they picked him from Purdue, like watching him play at Purdue, he's phenomenal until he had the other one ACL and then the MCL and then the ACL. And like what happens when he comes to the Steelers, everyone was worried about his injuries, and he was injured for some time. He spent time on the IR this year. He's a great kid. He arguably, without the injuries, he would be our starting cornerback for years to come. He's the guy, but he's also badly injury prone. And I just don't know if you recover from that. You just can't. And maybe Rod Woodson did it right. But to have like multiple knee injuries, I don't know how you think Corey Trice is going to be reliable.
The best availability is availability. But the Najee Harris is closest to the signing with the Chargers.
So it's the Chargers because the beginning of the week or the weekend it was the Chiefs. Which I think he would be a tremendous signing with the Chiefs. And here's the thing with Najee Harris too, and it's not like we're always wishy-washy, but yeah, his stats aren't bad. It's kind of what we were saying earlier about Pickens. He's had that multiple 1,000 yards, all-purpose yards, whatever, on a pretty stinky offensive lines. But at the same time, he's never really shown that everything he was supposed to be. He's never really shown or lived up to what he's supposed to be athletically, taking over games or anything like that. And so it's like kind of a wash. Like if he goes, is he just going to be the same kind of, ho-hum running back? Or is he going to go to somewhere like Kansas City and San Diego and take off, which he could easily do?
He was never he never lived up to that first round billing. He's slow, and that's the problem. He's a power back, and that's cool. He would thrive in an offense that just needs a power back occasionally. Like up in Detroit, they have Gibbs, who's like their speedster and their main guy. But then when they want like short yardage situations or they want to pound it in, they have like David Montgomery. Najee would be perfect for that. He'd be perfect for a not I think he was like 50-50 with Jalen Warren. Maybe like 25% of the time or 30-40% of the time. Just bring him in occasionally. He'd be perfect for that. He's just not the main guy. So he's useful, just not as a top guy.
And he just hasn't. That's the indicative of what the Steelers offense has been for the last 3 years. It's like we're pretty sure of that. I would agree with you. But like I said, if he goes to Kansas City, Joe, and turns out to do well, it wouldn't surprise me. We're San Diego, somewhere with a decent line, and you're going to say, yeah, well, there was the guy we were waiting for.
Right.
Or he's going to go there and just be what he is here, an average ho-hum running back that never lived up to his potential. Either way, I wouldn't be surprised.
He could be a guy that has like 15 touchdowns in a year. It's like, oh my God, look what a great year have. Yeah, but they were all 1-yard runs, and that's okay. Hey, getting the ball in, those last couple yards, that's a skill. But so he can put up great stats. He's just not what the Steelers want. The Steelers need somebody like basically another Jalen Warren, a guy that's quicker, that could get around like all those stupid tosses they did to Najee. If they gave those to Jalen Warren, they probably would have done a lot better. They need somebody just a little bit quicker, more explosive.
Who they, apparently they made an offer to Jalen Warren today. I'm not sure what it was or what it was for or anything like that.
Well, it's basically to keep him because he was a restricted free agent.
Right.
So it depends on what tender you put on him. And they put a second round tender on him, which means he's going to make like $5.3 million this year. So it's basically just, they didn't lowball him or anything like that. It's like they're basically saying you are the guy.
Right. But the only thing is that's where it's such a conundrum, because if Najee goes, which he most likely he's gone. He's gone. In fact, I remember that was one of the last times, I guess I hate to say that now, one of the last times Wolf was on DBE, they were kind of running down some of these guys. He was doing a percentage game with him. I don't know if you heard that. And they said to him, Najee Harris, what's the chances he's a Steeler? He said like 92% no. Everybody else was kind of like 50, 40, 60, but Najee's pretty much gone. So that begs the question, where are we at free agent running back wise, and where are we at running back wise with the draft? We talked about, okay, maybe you solve the receiver issue a little bit right now. That is if you're keeping Pickens. But you still have a running back hole you got to fix. You still have defensive line you got to fix. There's just so many holes right now, which to me is why I feel we're rebuilding more than we are trying to win now. I just don't see how
seems like it.
I don't think we're better than the Ravens right now. I think we're marginally better than the Bengals, and we're better than the Browns. So that's just the way I see it.
But the problem is, I think in reality, they should be rebuilding. But in their head, they think they're a contender. They think, well, we made the play. What did Rooney's brother say? He's like, well, we're above the mean or something like that. Like, yes, great. You're slightly above average. Let's get a
good
banner
for you.
Yeah. Where's the parade? But they think they're better than they actually are. And I tell you what, I don't know. This is a crazy thought, but I think quarterback is actually the most important position on the field. And if you don't have a quarterback, you're kind of screwed. So this could be a really interesting season, and not in a good way.
Which is why I think, and thank you, Nashawn, for the nice comments there. Which I think to Nashawn's point is now you're starting to look at the Donovan Smiths of the world, because this is why these quarterbacks all go early, because people are taking flyers on them or doing whatever they can. Because look what the Bills did. They just locked up, basically, Josh Allen for life. But yeah, we are, we're now in that divot of not knowing who our QB is, what our future is. To me, even if you do bring in Aaron Rodgers, it's just a temporary fix. I don't see him taking us to the Super Bowl. Right. CBS put out a thing today. The teams with the best winning percentage over the last 10 years. Who's number 2? Steelers.
The Steelers, which
Chiefs for
depressed
one.
the hell out of me.
Chiefs for one. But guess what? Chiefs have 3 Super Bowl trophies to show for that. The
Yeah.
Eagles are 6th.
I think
they have
everything.
2. The Patriots are 8th, and they have 2. So, you can have all this winning percentage, but what really counts is the Lombardi sitting on top of that bar graph.
What's that playoff percentage?
Yeah, right. Right.
Um,
What do you think about Nishan's comment here on the offensive line?
Well, that's a great point, Nick Sean. Okay, so he says Steelers need a new offensive line and a new defensive scheme. Okay, let's talk about the offensive line, because actually, besides the all the needs, the line is the most important thing, the offensive line and the defensive line. And it's all about the offensive line. If you have a good offensive line, you could get away with a Russell Wilson or even an Aaron Rodgers. But if you don't, I mean, look at last year. Last year, the offensive line in the middle of the year played pretty well, and Russell Wilson played pretty well. And then what happened in those last 5-6 games? Offensive line got worse. Pickens got hurt, and Russell Wilson just went straight to hell, and the team went straight to hell. But they think they have a line. They address the line. They spent a first-round draft pick on a left tackle. Well, hopefully this year he actually will be a left tackle. They spent a first-round draft pick last year on a right tackle. They drafted a center and a guard, and hopefully Sayamalo gets better. But they think they have the line, and that's it. If they're right and the line gets better, the offense will get better. But if they're wrong, if Broderick Jones is a bust, and if Fautanu, is still hurt or isn't that good, they're screwed. So this is all about the line, basically.
It is funny to think that the line might be one of the strengths if everything works out. They are young. They would be the youngest starting line in the entire league this year if all those guys play. And that is something to grow with and grow on. There are some ifs there. But you're hoping the pedigree comes to light here, like Fontanu and the other guys work out to what they were for a first-round pick. Center looks good. In fact, God bless him, Wolf was huge on our center. Really big on him, was giving him nicknames. Wolf liked you if you got a nickname. So
we call him Morgantown Mauler.
Morgantown Mauler, yeah. And he liked him, and I think he'll only grow. He could be the next great Steelers center. So I think there's a lot to look at with the offensive line. I actually feel for the first time, Joe, we can kind of wait on the offensive line these first 3 or 4 rounds. We can go get, that defensive lineman. We can go get a wide receiver, a running back, a quarterback, whatever it is. But you're right. If they're wrong, Dan Moore is gone today. I can't believe the Titans paid him $82 million. $82 million.
He's making more than Justin Fields. He's making more than a starting quarterback.
And so he's gone. But yeah, so I'm sure there'll be some depth ads, maybe some free agent ads. But offensive line is yes, it's kind of concerning, but I'm not worried about it. Now defensive scheme, because there's a lot in Sean's comment here. I would agree. I'm concerned about it. I think they're working on a contract with Watt. I'm hoping that the new guy they brought in, which he did in Dallas, will move Watt around, which you and I have been calling for years, Joe.
Yeah.
But Dante Jackson's gone. Darius Slay's here. I don't think you'll see Cam stay around. Sutton, I think he'll be gone. Yeah. Are you going to give Beanie Bishop the start that he deserves? Because he sure as hell earned it last year, and you benched him for whatever, no reason. So, yeah, a scheme for sure needs to be looked at, and they need to figure out what the heck they're doing. I mean, Terrell Austin, again, this has got to be you can say what you want. Well, Tomlin makes the calls. Well, it's either Tomlin or Terrell Austin's fault. And if this defense sucks this year, again, then someone's got to be on a chopping block.
Yeah.
I don't think Tomlin should have been brought back anyway. I'm not a Tomlin guy, but, Terrell Austin is, hasn't been very good. Defense has not been what it needs to be.
They don't blitz, and that's the problem. I think Terrell Austin's specialty is the secondary. So I hope they bring in like a consultant or something like that, because when it was What's this guy? The guy that became the defensive coordinator in Minnesota. That was here for a year.
His name's escaping me too. From
Yeah,
Miami.
when he was here, they were designing some great blitzes, but yeah, they need to move TJ Watt around. But speaking of TJ Watt, we had a development with Myles Garrett. I wish it was one of my things that I really want to get is the $1 million belt. I think we both made that comment. Everybody has a price.
Everybody's got a price. I can't come. No, that was better than me. I can't even.
The great laugh he had.
I remember being at Steel City Con or somewhere where he was. And I don't know how he had a voice at the end of the day because everyone was asking him to do the laugh. Everybody was asking Ted DiBiase to do the laugh. And
I would. You know what? If I would extra, if remember he would have a little kid out there and he said, "Kid, if you could bounce the ball 10 times, I will give you $100."
Yes.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And as soon as it got to 9, he would kick the ball. Like, you get nothing.
Yeah. But that's exactly what my mind went to when Myles Garrett signed. Yeah. Everybody's got a price for the
Myles Garrett said, I don't care about being in Cleveland. I don't care about the money. I don't care about any of that. I want to win a championship. And therefore I am requesting a trade out of Cleveland. And then Cleveland showed him the money. He's like, you know what? Actually, I like it here. Like, oh man.
Well, and the funny thing is, you know who that screws? It screws the Bengals, right? Because the Bengals, what they've promised Jamar Chase, they've promised him he would be the highest non-quarterback player in the league. Whoops. Because now they're going to have to shell out a sugar ton of money to Jamar Chase.
All these teams, they don't understand that if you did the deal early, you would have a bargain. They could have had Jamar Chase for like 36 million a year. Now they're going to have to pay 5 million more a year extra.
Easily.
Yeah. And they got to play T. Higgins, and who knows what's going to happen with Hendrickson. Yeah, the Bengals really screwed themselves. But now TJ Watt is in the last year of his deal. His contract is going to be up. He's going to want, I don't know if he's going to want Myles Garrett money, but he's going to want something close.
He is, and that's going to be dependent. I think, again, here's another guy that depends on his year. I mean, last year he did pretty good, actually, quietly. First half of the year especially. He kind of faded away towards the end of the year. I've told you I was kind of disappointed in him last year. I thought after the Myles Garrett game in Cleveland and the things he said, I was hoping TJ Watt would respond to that and do what he's done in the past, and he didn't. He just kind of fell off the face of the earth. I will say this, you and I are human. Congratulations to him and his wife. They had a baby girl today. That's a beautiful thing. No matter what, life's beautiful. So congratulations to them. And I'm hoping maybe that's his inspiration. Maybe it's like, I got a daughter now, a girl now. I want to provide for her. I want to whatever. And I'm going to go out there and absolutely rip face masks off quarterbacks and bury running backs and do what I do best. So sometimes maybe there's no inspiration like a child to kind of get you back to where you need to be and, go out and earn it. Go out and make the Steelers pay you the money, or be a very valuable trade commodity. I'm not sure whichever it's going to be, but
from what I understand, TJ Watt, yes, the thing I heard about Myles Garrett is he's all about the stats. I heard a Browns fan say that Myles Garrett, when he demanded a trade, that like. This Browns fan said, Myles Garrett is never going to miss games. He's never going to hold out because to him, the stats are everything. He loves his stats. He doesn't care whether whether the team wins or loses. He just cares about his stats, and obviously he cares about money. So, but TJ Watt desperately wants to be. Yeah, I think TJ Watt is all right. Like if he retired today, he would be considered a Steelers legend, and he would be in the Hall of Honor, someday.
Oh, yeah.
But it kills him that he hasn't even won a playoff game. he sees what it's like when the 10th anniversary of the Super Bowl comes in, or the 50th anniversary of the Super 70s Super Bowl teams comes in. He's like, there is something different about those teams that win championships rather than just players that were really good. He wants to be someone that wants to win a championship, and he wants to win it in Pittsburgh. So I doubt that he's ever going to. I think he's a Steelers lifer, but he is what 30 something, however old he is.
31, right?
He's not exactly young.
Right.
So, but still, if you're going to sign him to an extension, now you're paying almost $40 million for the guy. That's quarterback money for a defensive guy. It's crazy.
Well, and here's the other thing too. And yeah, he's 30 years old. He'll turn 31 this season. I think the other thing that he's seen what happened to his brother JJ, right? JJ arguably considered probably the best defensive player from 2009 till 2020 or 2019, a 10-year span. Nobody was better. He has nothing to show for it, playing for a crap Texans organization at the time. And, I think everything you said is right up until the end. I think he's turning 30, right? I mean, I could see him pulling like a Ray Bork, dig up that reference, and saying, you know what, I got to get a Super Bowl trophy. I'm going to go to Philly, Kansas City, Detroit, whatever it may
possible.
be. I could see him doing that because I think he really wants that Lombardi. I think he would like to do it in Pittsburgh, but that's the thing too, is are we rebuilding or are we building to win now? And if you want TJ Watt around, you're probably trying to build now to do that.
Right.
Because Joe, if you bring Aaron Rodgers and back to the Aaron Rodgers thing, and he's 41, how long do you realistically think Aaron Rodgers is the quarterback here?
1 year.
1 year, maybe 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's where you're playing again, whether it's Donovan Smith like Nashawn would like to see, or Jackson Dart, or whoever it's going to be. You strike gold there, and then maybe it works. So I don't know, but I think a lot of things weigh in that TJ Watt contract. And the thing that you've heard lately is the Steelers want to get it done now. They want to get that done. They don't want to go into training camp or have a big offseason or mini camp with that hanging over their heads.
Right. Because traditionally what they do is they do it toward the end of training camp.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you want that. I don't think you want. I think you want to hammer this out, get that destruction out of there. His wife's name is Danny. And they wrote on social media, worth the wait. She wrote, "Welcome to the world, Blakely Marie Watts." I was hoping they would name the baby "Screw You, Myles Garrett" Watts, but they went with Blakely Marie. So,
right.
Congratulations to the Watt family.
Yeah, well, there'll be a bunch of brown stuff in a diaper, so it kind of, it's.
Look, honey. That's a team in Cleveland right there.
Yeah.
What you just did in your diaper, that's a team right there.
Yeah.
Daddy plays them twice a year.
That's right.
One more thing about the Browns. Did you see who they traded for?
Kenny Pickett. My favorite part about that, I was looking at this right before I jumped on with you, and I don't know if she responded because her and I don't really see eye to eye or get along. But Aditi, whatever her name is, she was making a case like, hey, she said, don't sleep on this. Pickett was drafted into a completely dysfunctional offense here, spent a year resetting and developing further in a tremendous organization, Philadelphia, and he absolutely can now take his lessons from there to compete and lead with the Browns. And I said, yes, because the Browns are known for their great judgment on quarterbacks and have a long history of successful quarterbacks. Are you out of your damn mind?
Listen, I have nothing against the guy. Actually, I have a lot against him, but I'll put that aside. But anytime right now you see Kenny Pickett, you see that clip of him taking the football, and he's like, ah! It's just the ball is throwing him somehow.
Yes. Classic.
Somebody took did that video, and said the Browns GM saw this clip and said, "Yeah, I got to have this guy."
Yeah, I gotta have this guy. Yeah. Yeah, no, Kenny Pick. That's just the Cleveland. That is Cleveland Browns.
Imagine a Browns Steelers game with Kenny Pickett as the starting quarterback.
Makes for good drama, doesn't it?
TJ Watt would have maybe 10, 15 sacks in one game. You could have the entire Browns team, the entire Browns offense trying to stop him, and he would just pick them up and throw them aside just so he could get to Kenny Pickett.
Yeah, but I mean, the other ways we don't want to think about this, but I'll say it. But the drama is like, hey, Kenny Pickett's in there, and those Pitt diehards are going to be like, if he throws 3 touchdowns tonight against the Steelers, they're going to love it, and
right.
So it does make it all the more interesting now that they're playing Kenny. Well, who knows where Kenny Pickett will be in that whole thing? I don't even know. I mean, it's the Browns.
Well, who knows how this is all going to work out? I mean, in theory, the plan is they're going to draft a quarterback, which is funny because I mean, there's really only one good quarterback in the first round. But hey, whatever. I'm sure the Browns will figure that out. But so they'll get somebody. So Kenny will probably be the backup, but it'll I'm so excited. I'm excited about that. About who the Steelers quarterback is. I'm not excited at all, but I'm excited about playing Kenny Pickett.
No. So yeah, it's that was an interesting one. Probably at least for us, the most interesting non-Steeler trade of the day. But yeah, I mean, it was an interesting first day, and it's going to be an interesting week to come.
It's just it was absolute craziness. Kind of stunk that the Twitter was down for a good part of the day. Kind of stunk that we couldn't live stream our thing on Twitter, but yeah, it's just it's exciting. It's just the NFL, they know how to do it. They know how to do entertainment.
They really do, better than anybody. And here we are with days to go and a lot of big names out there, and it'll be interesting to see where some of these people go and what they get. And one of the interesting things left out there too, and again, I mean, old or younger, like the Rams have already said, if they can't make a trade with Cooper Kupp, they're going to put him on waivers on Wednesday. Well, did the Steelers go pick up Cooper Kupp? And, some of the Inzers are going to lose their mind saying, oh my God, now we have DK Metcalf and Cooper Kupp. Well, okay, you're not getting him 5 years ago. You are getting him a little bit older, but
I think Cooper Kupp can still be.
I think so too.
A good option. And see, my theory, and this is I've said this for a while now. Omar Khan saw that he screwed up last year by not having enough wide receivers. So this year he's going to be like, I'm going to have all the wide receivers. So I think we're not done yet. I think DK Metcalf is just at the beginning. I think we're going to have like 4 or 5 pretty good wide receiving options.
Yeah, because there was a lot of talk going into the weekend that a lot of people were certain Steelers were going to bring in Christian Kirk because they pretty much almost did until he broke his collarbone like that week, and then that deal was off like it was cold as could be. And I was thinking, well, I'm not going to be jumping off the roof if we get Christian Kirk. I guess anything is better than what we had last year.
Right.
Okay, anything. But Christian Kirk, like, now you bring in Cooper Kupp and DK Metcalf, I'm going to be presently happy with that. Yeah. That's a definite improvement. Christian Kirk, I think, would have been a slight improvement. Cooper Kupp and DK Metcalf's a major improvement.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Just no Danny Dimes. I do not want to see.
No.
I don't even want to see. I don't even know if I want to see him as the 3rd string quarterback. Danny Dimes is like the dollar store version of Justin Fields.
He's not. Yeah, he's not even Dollar General. He's Dollar Store.
Yeah.
Right. Yep.
Oh, all right. Well,
all right.
Thanks everybody. Thanks. Hi, Nate and Sean. Thanks sorry if we butchered your name. But thanks for everybody for joining. Thanks, Darren. We'll catch you another time.
Thank you, Joe. Always fun.
We'll see you.
Take care.